What's going on, folks? Chris Cooking Nashville and Ash Taylor here, back from the Bahamas.
Yeah.
How you doing, cruise buddy?
I'm doing good, cruise buddy.
Yeah.
I got a little bit of a sunburn, but I love it. Nothing like some good vitamin D. It's good for you.
Yes. A little bit of sunburn, a whole lot of rest and relaxation. But we are glad to be back in Nashville and glad to be back with you here on YouTube. We missed you guys, and it felt very weird not doing this.
Yeah.
It was very strange, but I appreciate you guys watching the videos while we were gone. Lasagna video did super well, and the meatloaf video is still doing pretty well, and the health vlog that was telling you guys we were on a cruise and that we have announcements and stuff coming, that one did well. So we appreciate you guys just looking after the Chris Cooking Nashville community while we were gone. So that was a much needed break.
Yes, it definitely was.
Now I'm going to tell you guys, we did the best we could dietary wise. It's a little tough when you are not in control of your own food. Truthfully, I really appreciate the fact that I cook all of our food even more, because I know what goes into it and I know how to choose the things that make us feel good. I don't know about you, but I'm a little swollen and bloated and tired and fatigued and recovering, because there were definitely things that we ate along the way that were not as clean as what I would like for them to be if we were eating here. But we stayed as protein heavy as we could, and we did the best that we could.
And the day that we got back, we went right back to carnivore.
We went right back to carnivore.
Without missing a beat.
To do.
I will say something too that is something I never really thought about until we went on the cruise, but then also, being in the Bahamas. We are really blessed to live in a country, though, where if we wanted to do a carnivore diet or keto or ketovore or any of these things, that we're able to.
Yes.
I think just traveling outside of the United States and seeing, how people just kind of eat whatever it is they can afford, or especially what is readily available. It was very interesting to see just how many carbs and, you have rice and beans, all these different foods where it's like, this is just what everyone eats in this country because that's what they can afford to, and that's what's readily available. For them to have something like steak and, beef patties and eggs and stuff, that's just not in the cards. So kind of just made me appreciative that even though it's like you were, not that we ate that stuff, but it's like you were out and about and you could see how people live in other countries and then come back to the U.S. and be like, we have the choice and the option to go back to doing what makes us feel good. Kind of a blessing. I don't think I really thought about or realized the incredible blessing it is just to eat what you want and eat what makes you feel good and to have the right to do so.
It's very interesting when you are in a place where the security in the food system is not exactly the same here. And, in the Bahamas, there are some areas where there are very, very wealthy people. And then there are areas where there is some very extreme poverty. And it is not far away from each other. And we saw both. I think when you go someplace like an island nation like that, where everything has to be shipped in that can't be produced locally, and it's very hard to have it shipped in, things are expensive. They run out of things quickly, and then they have to wait for a while for more to come. The first place that we stopped was a place called Princess K's, and basically there's nothing there other than the resort that Carnival owns, which is what we were cruising with, Carnival Cruises. And other than that resort, there's really nothing there. And there are some people that live there, but they all work for Carnival, and they all work. I'm imagining the houses and stuff that were there, the few are probably also owned by Carnival or, whatever, because Carnival owns the island where we were. And someone from one of the resort type things there asked a guy who was a security guard that was working for Carnival how they could support the locals and how they could get to see more of like what the Bahamas was actually like and not just the resort stuff. And he said, you'll have to call a taxi and you go about 110 miles that way.
Yeah.
And it'll take a long time. And it was like, there's nothing there.
Right.
There is nothing there. So it's like you eat what's available and you eat what you can afford. Really eye-opening when you realize that, we talk about the expense of food and we talk about like, oh, the store didn't have this that I wanted today or whatever. It really puts into perspective how much of an entitled outlook that is that we have. This is the same thing that I've said when people have talked about how you shouldn't be buying certain products or doing these different kinds of things, and that certain of these recipes that I do, maybe that's like, this is way too much work, it's so much easier to just go buy some ground beef and cook it. And it's like, right, but that's because that's off of the backs of the work that someone else has done
Absolutely,
to process that cow, to put it on a styrofoam plate in the refrigerator section at your local grocery store. Because everywhere else in the world, if you want that cow, you have to raise that cow, you have to butcher that cow, you have to clean and process that cow, you have to store and figure out how to package that cow, which you may or may not have electricity in some countries to be able to keep it refrigerated, which means if you can't do that, you have to preserve somehow that beef. Like, we live with so much entitlement in our food system. And I'm very grateful for the fact that I live in a place where I have that much security in my food system.
Oh, yeah.
But I really think as carnivores, we do the world a disservice by acting like this is just easy and everybody should be able to just do this and we just have to bully people into being carnivores, which is some of that dogmatic stuff that's out there. That doesn't work for most of the world. And I think it's very eye-opening when you step outside of some of the more developed systems, you know, and I mean, in the Bahamas is fairly well developed. I mean, like, they're not what I would necessarily consider like third world country level by any means, but there are areas there that are very much that way. And even as a developed island nation, they still don't have the access to things as easily as we do in many of these other places around the world. So I just thought it was a really cool, sometimes sad, eye-opening situation to look at that and realize that a lot of the world lives in a way where they can't just go down to the local corner market and buy a pound of ground beef that's ready to cook anytime that they want. And I think truthfully that's one of the reasons I am so passionate about some of the recipes that I do, because I go so far beyond just cooking ground beef and eggs, which I love ground beef and eggs, and that's probably what I eat more than anything else. But I cook so many other things because there is a cultural significance, or it's using certain ingredients, or it's approximating something that matters to someone in a different culture. Like, there are so many things around the world that are so far outside the dogmatic eat steak, salt, and water, or you're not a real carnivore attitude. There is so much more out there, and there are millions and millions, billions at this point probably, people who are sick and dying because of the food that they are eating, and they don't know, or they don't have access, even if they do know, to fix that. And truthfully, as people who understand this about keto and carnivore and this low carb thing and eating good quality food and the health effect of that, I honestly think that it should be on us to try to figure out how to gently educate the world around us to the best of our abilities and encourage people to do the best they can with what access they have to various resources. And we should be making the effort to try to figure out how to make this an easier transition for people who maybe want to try this for their health but don't have access to the same things we do. And have cultural reasons that it's not easy for them to, well, just eat beef and eggs. And that is why Chris Cooking Nashville is very important to me, and that was very much on display for me when we were in the Bahamas. And we had a great time, and there was a lot of wonderful stuff that we got to do, but I think that was something that really, for me at least, I came away with a very, just in my face, appreciation for what we really have. So
I would agree.
That's my thoughts.
I would agree.
What other thoughts do you have?
I love the Bahamas. I love getting to travel. I really enjoyed the cruise ship. And just like I said, the awareness though of how blessed we are with our food system here for sure. When we got off the boat into one of the ports, they gave us a little map and it talked about the foods that all the locals eat. Just as you'd walk up to local shops, it was all just so rice and bean heavy and fried this and fried that. So it was like a, wow, like just, you know, like I said, an eye-opening thing. Made us very grateful. As far as health, I know we were talking about like, you know, we're both a little bit swollen, but we've kind of already gone right back to doing what we're doing. Inflamed, I'm sure there were seed oils we ate. Definitely, yes. And hidden sugar and all kinds of stuff, because you can only do so much when the food is being prepared by other people. Yeah, but we did the best we could. Sometimes it can be really easy to focus on weight loss. Clearly, you and I have both lost a significant amount of weight. Yes. Doing keto and carnivore, but 230, 240 total pounds between the two of us. The whole reason why we kind of took a cruise and we went to the Bahamas is we got married during the pandemic, and so we were not able to take a honeymoon. So the last night of our cruise was actually our 3-year wedding anniversary. We didn't have cell phone service or anything, and so we actually were able just to spend a lot of quality time together and have great conversation. And we were, thinking about how we met and where we started, and like kind of going through our life together. And something that I think would be kind of cool to share, because we do focus so much in on like the weight loss aspect of it, but like to take a second and talk about the quality of life that being on a keto or carnivore diet basically gives to you. And I think that's actually like the biggest blessing, more so than weight loss. And kind of what I mean by this, and not to hopefully
share openly. Yeah. There are shirtless pictures of a very overweight, almost 400-pound me on my channel. I have no secrets from anybody. Well, to make my point, we're going to go back in time a little bit. So Chris talks about being the highest number that you've ever seen on a scale was 385. 385. And it was probably bigger. Right. So when you saw that 385, that was in the year 2020. Because I was there. I saw that. And we were out in California. So I was there when he weighed, and the highest number he saw was 385. I met Chris, though, so that was in 2020. I met Chris, though, in the fall of 2018. So I knew Chris for basically like 2 years prior to him seeing the highest number on the scale. When I met Chris, we joke about it all the time that I was not really interested, and there were a couple of reasons why. But there were good reasons. I had my reasons, but when I met Chris and I was first like getting to know him, like I remember on our first date, we went to a Mexican restaurant just around the corner. And I remember that he could barely fit like in the booth, like to sit down. He could not walk more than a few feet without needing to like sit and catch his breath. And there were things about him where it was like, you could just tell he was so unhealthy. And it was so sad because he was also so young, and not in any way that I was like the, peak of health at this point either. But, I guess it just had never gotten that bad for me. And so one of the things is I was like, I love to travel, and I love to go do things, and I love to go hiking and go on walks and do all this stuff. And he couldn't do any of that. And he couldn't fit into certain rides and amusement parks or do this or do that. I couldn't fit into almost any of the rides at amusement parks, honestly. And then when we were flying to California, and this was in 2020, when you saw that number 385, you could barely fit in an airplane seat. And so clearly that was a long time ago, and you eventually found keto and then carnivore, and you've lost all of this weight and all this stuff, which is, I think people just focus on that, and that's a huge compliment, and that's awesome. What I really noticed though this week, other than the blessing of our food system and just the freedom to be able to eat what we want, awesome, is I was thinking back though to when I first met Chris, and I was like, I just don't know if I want to like commit to being married to someone, and kind of just understanding like, I don't know if he's going to live 5-10 years from now at this point. Like what is all that excess weight doing to your body, and what kind of life are we going to live, and what kind of dad are you going to be if we have kids, if it's like you can't even walk a few feet. And so when we were on this trip though this week, we get to the airport and Chris got in a seat, and he could, like, we took pictures and videos. I've got a little video clip I'll drop in for you guys to see, because when we flew on the plane in 2020, I extended the seatbelt all the way out. As far as it would go. And it was tight. And I had to suck my stomach in to just barely get it to clip. And I thought I was going to have to ask for a seatbelt extender in 2020, which would have been super embarrassing for me. And it was a very eye-opening thing when we were on the plane that time. And then I'll show you the clip of me sitting in the plane seat this time. Yeah, let's go. Look at that. How does it feel? Really good. This time, though, it's like he could sit down and he put the seatbelt on, no problem. He was way more comfortable flying. He had, it was insane. You walked all throughout the airport, no issues. And that's the thing, I know like 385 was the highest number that, you've seen on a scale. I personally have said, because I met Chris 2 years before he saw that number, I think he was 400 pounds, if not a little above that. I really do. Because the first couple years that we were together and dating, it was like, I was like, I think he's over that. And I get it though. You get to a point you don't want to step on a scale. I mean, it's just, it's depressing. Like, who wants that? I hadn't been on a scale in probably 3 or 4 years at least. Before I saw that 385.
But it was so cool though to see you like be able to fly on an airplane and be super comfortable and put that seatbelt on, and like what a victory that was. And then I thought it was really cool because we went to Miami. We were there for like a day and a half before the boat left, and we went to the beach. And when I first met Chris,
walking around Miami Beach, down on South Beach,
South Beach,
where all the loud clubs that I don't go to were at. That was
a lot for us.
That was a lot.
But we were walking, and like Chris had his shirt off, and like when I first met you, you would not take your shirt off in public.
I refused.
You refused, but he was walking around, just with no shirt, and I'm like. What a cool victory, because a couple years ago, there's no way that you would have done that. And then, I
think it's because I'm still overweight.
Yeah.
But I know how much I used to weigh.
Yeah.
And if anybody would ever say anything like, oh, look at the fat guy, I would just pull my phone out and show them the picture and be like, I'm improving myself. How about you?
Right. Well, and I just love that, like, you had the confidence to do it.
Yeah.
That's what was so cool. It's like you just kind of don't care anymore, and you're just like, I'm just doing my thing. Like, we're going to have a good time, and I don't care. We also, like, were walking around, though, I mean, all over Miami Beach and everything. He didn't stop one time to sit down. Not one. And then when we finally got on the boat, we walked all over that ship a million times. I mean, we went to the pool, we went to shows, we did all of this stuff.
Up and down the stairs.
Up and down the stairs. I mean, like, no problems whatsoever. And it was just incredible. And then in our first port was in Princess Cays, the private beach. We actually went kayaking together, which was super, super cool. And I know before we had talked about doing that together, but Chris was concerned about the weight limit, like in the boat. And we were able to go kayaking together, sat in the same kayak, and we went out kayaking in the ocean. And
we're not small people. I mean, I'm 6 feet tall. I'm 5'11". She's 5'11". Yeah. And both of us have a large bone structure. Yeah. So, I mean, we're just large people. Yeah. And like, even if we didn't have any body fat, we'd be large people still. Yeah. And I was really concerned that we would just topple over any kind of a sit on top kayak. I used kayak fish all the time, so I know how those kayaks work. And I was like, the way that I used to be, ain't no way we'd be able to keep that thing up.
Oh yeah, it was just so cool though, because I felt like the entire week it was like all of these things that basically he could never do before, or just didn't maybe have the confidence to do it or the mental clarity. Because when I first met him, I believe he was 400 pounds, if not more, and he was depressed and couldn't walk but a few feet. And it was sad because, like I said, you were so young, you know what I mean? You were just in your early 30s, I guess. And it was just such a day and night difference, though, from like, here's the guy that I met on our first date, and now here's my husband after 3 years of marriage, and we're taking a honeymoon finally. And it was just so it was so cool to see your spouse, I guess, like succeed in all these different ways. It was a huge victory, and I just thought that was really, really cool, super inspiring. But people ask, like, why do you guys try to stick to low carb lifestyle, keto, carnivore, blah 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 blah? I think so many people just think about weight loss, but I'm like, look at the quality of life that you are living today and the experiences and the things that you're able to do now because of keto and carnivore that you couldn't do before. And I was like, man, I just want to touch on that though in a health vlog, because that's a lot of victories for you. Yeah. A lot. I thought it was great. Agree. I was very proud of you.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's, I think, really important to address this concept, because one of the comments that we do get from time to time is people telling us, like, you don't look like you eat carnivore, and because they don't know our story, they don't know where I've come from, certainly, and they're not going to go back and do the research to actually watch where I come from. They just oh, it's a fat guy, like, well, let's make fun of him, it's whatever, it's those kinds of people, which is why we just ignore those and delete those comments, because that's a waste of everybody's time. But it's one of those things where it's like, even if I never lost another pound, which I fully expect I will, I'm just going to keep doing my thing, because I've still got extra weight to lose, and my body knows that, and when it's ready, it will shed more weight. But even if I never lost another pound, even if I stayed in that, like, between 255 and 260, like, kind of just range the whole time for the rest of my life, where I am now is so much better than where I was, that it would still be worth continuing to do it, because even if the weight didn't change, all of the other things in me that have changed, that are the best they've ever been, is enough. Yeah. That's enough to be worth it. And I especially means a lot to me when I see someone with an outside perspective. When Ash tells me that she sees this stuff in me, it makes me know I'm not crazy, and that stuff is actually happening. So That's really cool.
Yeah, no, I think it's very important. I just think life is so short, and it's like, it breaks my heart to see someone with health issues where it's like they can't, move, or they can't do different things, or you're so depressed that you don't want to get up off the couch.
Yeah.
When we first met, we got Mel in 2019. And it's like, I used to have to go walk the puppy by myself in our neighborhood because he couldn't get up off the couch to walk. Like, he could not walk around the block. So to see, like, that's where you started. And then now we're walking around and you're shirtless in Miami. And we've walked 5 miles in the sun today, and you're swimming and you're kayaking in the ocean, and you're just such a different person.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, if this is what eating this way like makes your life be, like to live it to its full potential, I'm like, give me a steak any day.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can't beat that.
Absolutely. And that's also the thing of, when we were on the boat, there are so many people when you go someplace like that are so overweight. They look miserable. They act like they're miserable. I'm sure they are miserable. And it's sad.
Yeah.
It really is sad. It's heartbreaking to see it. And the thing is, I don't judge because I was there too.
Yeah.
I was the same way. And, we know so many things that can help people like that. But this kind of, again, goes back to that thing of why I create my recipes, why this channel exists, why we do the health vlogs, why we're so open. People like that need help. And if you tell them that the only way they're ever going to get it is by eating steaks and just getting over all of the other things, and just, you got to learn to let all that go. Like, if you beat them over the head with
That's
that,
not helpful.
they're never going to try. Ever.
Yeah.
99% of people are never going to give that a shot if they feel like from the very beginning that's what they have to do.
Yeah.
And this kind of comes down to the thing of why we are so passionate about this channel and the recipes and the health vlogs and the transparency and everything, because I needed help. And I was blessed to find it.
Right.
There are so many other people that need help, and the attitude of you just got to get over it. You just have to do this. You just have to do that. And the judgment and the beating people down doesn't help anyone. And that just comes from purely a place of ego,
right,
rather than trying to help people. It's someone who wants to make themselves feel better, not actually help the rest of the world feel better. So that's why this stuff matters so much. And when you are someplace like a cruise ship, and you see the things people are eating and the things that they're doing to themselves, and the amount of alcohol that people drink, and I don't care if you choose to drink or not, that's up to you. But these drinks that they had on the boat, like, first of all, they're expensive. I can't imagine how much people spent on alcohol. It was just, there goes all your money.
Right.
Hundreds of dollars a day per person, like the drinks that I saw people having. On top of that, every single drink they had, unless it was just a shot of something, was so full of sugar.
Yeah.
Because they're all the mixed frozen tropical things. Don't get me wrong, they taste amazing. Like, those kinds of drinks are so good, but it's, and even if it's the occasional special thing you do, like, that's up to you. But, to have all that sugar, plus the alcohol, plus all of the carbs that were on the buffets that were all over the you look at that. These people are putting 300, 400, 500, 600 grams of carbs a day.
Something that I noticed too, watching people, because like at dinner, we had the same table every night, and we would sit with like the same, and it was actually like several different couples at the table. And
young couples, in fact.
Young couples.
Probably two of those couples, I would say, were younger than us. And there was one that was maybe around the same age range.
And so we were, all hanging out at the table, and they were all ordering drinks. And it's like we'd sit down, and it's like things would get pleasant, and by the end of the second drink, and then by the time they've had their bread, and you could literally feel, like Chris and I talked about it, like the table move. And every other couple but Chris and I started fighting and bickering with each other.
Yeah.
You could time it night after night. Like, oh, they finished their second drink. Okay, go for it.
Yeah.
So it also, I think, that kind of gave me grace, because it's like I've chosen not to drink now for a couple years. And that was a decision I made, because I found that I just wasn't very clear-headed when I would drink, and it just didn't make me feel very good. But it's like,
alcohol for you is Twinkies for me.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just what it does to us.
It just is what it is. But to me, it's like I looked at that and I had such empathy for them, though.
Yeah.
Because the thing is I think knowledge is power. And the fact that we understand, like, we know what that sugar and that carbohydrate and what that alcohol does to our bodies, right? these people maybe have never heard of keto or carnivore and have no idea. And even if they've heard of it, maybe they have never tried it and experienced it. So it's just heartbreaking though, because it's like, man, you're on this great vacation and you're basically being a total dick to your husband or your wife or your kids or whatever.
Yeah.
Because you're experiencing all these different things. And so I think too, like Chris and I were saying, I think that's why it's so important though that clearly we put out content, but also support other content creators that are trying to teach people about the low carb lifestyle. And also for you guys to share this with people if you think they would benefit from it. Because it's like, what if you had never heard of Dr. Berry?
Right.
Would you even still be alive today? Would we have been able to go do any of the things that we talked about in this video?
Definitely not that.
Because I think you'd still be depressed sitting on the couch.
Yeah, I would still be depressed sitting. To be perfectly honest, we probably never would have gotten married because I would have been so stuck in depression and anxiety and irritability and just overweight and not wanting to do anything. She never would have agreed to marry me because it just...
I would think that's true. Well, only because why would I marry someone if I don't think you're going to be around in 5 years?
Yeah, well,
you know, I mean,
said... in the health vlog where we talked about some of this stuff.
Yeah.
We had that difficult conversation where she looked at me and said, you know, I know you want to get married, but why would I trust you can take care of me when I need you to if you can't even take care of yourself? Mm-hmm. It was a very necessary thing for me to understand.
I think like so many people know that, like, you know, you were 385 and you know, all that stuff, and you have such a great story, but I'm like, you guys don't even know him before that. And there's no proof because you didn't jump on a scale, but I'm telling you, as his wife, like, I'm sure that you were a lot more than that at one point.
I may not have the proof from actually stepping on a scale, but I've got some old pictures. If I can find one, maybe I'll put it up on the screen.
But that's I think though you've lost more than the 132 that you know about. But also, like I said, weight is like a number, and we still have more to lose, and we're just doing our thing. But like, even with the weight you've lost, like, I was like, the Chris I met 6 years ago, even the Chris I married 3 years ago would have never been able to do any of these things. Yeah. And so I think it's very fulfilling though, because you see like you're living your life to your best potential. You know, you're out there enjoying things and stuff. And I'm like, this is so awesome. Like that's the kind of life I think you want for your spouse and for any of your loved ones. So I think just to see that you've reached that point though, where you're able to go out and start doing stuff. Yeah. That's huge.
This is why you eat the steak.
Yeah. This is why. This is why. Weight loss is one thing, but it's the mental health, the clarity, it's the living your life to your, you know, potential. That's not even when I'm talking about you physically being able to do things. Also think about like mentally where you're at.
Oh yeah.
You know, you're not depressed, you're cracking jokes, you're fun, you're, you know, you don't have anxiety and all that stuff anymore. It's like, what a big difference.
I'm very fun.
Only half the time. But yeah, you know what I mean? But like, okay, when I met
you're going to have fun and like it.
Yeah, when I met you though, he wouldn't have done that. He would have been like, he wouldn't have done that. So it's like, but that's what I'm saying. It's just so cool though, I think for me, like to know you from the start and then see where you're at today. And it's like, man, what a huge difference. But it also makes me excited as you continue to heal your body and continue to lose the weight and stuff. Like, you know, I probably will have a harder time keeping up with you, but that's all right.
I will say it's funny when we're walking around doing things in like South Beach and that kind of stuff. She still has the habit of looking for benches everywhere we go.
I kept asking
and she keeps asking, do you need to sit down? Do you want to go sit down? And I'm like, no. Well, now, granted, it was like 95 degrees out, and we're sweating our butts off, and we're cranking through bottles of water, and we're just like hoofing it up and down South Beach, getting yelled at by Cubans in bikinis that show more than we ever want to see. But
I saw a lot of Cuban pepperoni, if you know what I'm saying.
The pepperoni's not the problem; it's the sausage and the buns you got to worry about. Anyway, we're not going to go any further down that road. This is a family show.
Sorry.
So, but yeah, it was really an interesting experience, and I think a lot of like just right in front of your face stuff for us to really think about, which was cool.
It was so great though.
It was really nice.
I felt like we got to like rest and recharge, and then just have a new appreciation like for where we're at in our health journey, where we're at in life, an appreciation for the country that we live in, and how we're able to say, hey, I don't want to eat rice and beans today, so I'm going to go home and make a steak.
And what do you know? I can afford that, and they sell that at the store right down the street.
It's just really great.
What an amazing thing.
It really is, though. But yeah,
what
such a great time.
Yeah. We are very, very blessed. So I'm curious for you guys, what are some of the victories that you have had doing keto or carnivore? If you are brand new to this, you haven't even started keto and carnivore, what are the victories you're looking forward to? And you can tell us about weight loss, that's great. But more importantly, what are other not weight loss related things that you have that are some victories? I would love to see the Chris Cooking Nashville community share with us. What are the cool things that have changed in your life doing keto and carnivore? Just drop that in the comments down below. Tell us about your victories. Go in the comment section and find other people that are doing this, that are putting their comments down there. Congratulate them. Meet somebody who's had the same victory, or a version of it that you've had. Like, go interact with each other down there and just encourage, because you don't know who you may inspire to try this, because you might share that you have a victory that someone else is hoping for and they're wondering if keto or carnivore might be the answer. You don't know who's going to see those comments and who may end up at changing their life because of something that you say in the comments. The next Chris Cooking Nashville who weighs 400 pounds could be floating out there on the internet watching this, and you may say something that takes whoever that is and turns them around to where they marry the love of their life and they end up with a wonderful future, and they start a YouTube channel and they start trying to help other people because of the fact that they feel so blessed to have been helped themselves.
Yeah.
You might be the reason that happens. So drop it in the comments down below. Tell us what your favorite victories are that you've seen from keto and carnivore, what it's done for you. Let us celebrate with you, celebrate with each other, encourage each other. Guys, do me a favor. Go out and tell us in the comments if you would like, but go out and find a way. What is something that you can do to just go have a beautiful impact on somebody in the world, whether it's keto and carnivore or whether it's just being understanding of someone who's not on keto and carnivore. Think about it. If you want to tell us in the comments, what is something that we can all do? You specifically, if you want to tell us a specific example, what's something we can do to encourage somebody and be understanding and not be the dogmatic person who beats people down with what they should do, but rather someone who turns around and offers a hand and lifts somebody up by encouraging them with information to help them figure out what they can do. That's a big difference, and it's a really important one, and that's why we're here. We really love all of you, and we're really glad to be back and be interacting with you. Did you have any final thoughts on any of that? Does that?
No, I think that all sounds good. I just appreciate people watching videos and stuff while we were gone.
Yeah.
Everyone did a great job of keeping things rolling while we were taking a little break.
Absolutely. Well, I told you guys that there was going to be a lot of announcements, and there are going to be a lot of announcements. Ash and I were actually finalizing some details earlier, and there are going to be some announcements. So I'm going to give you a little teaser. Next week in the health vlog and probably the Tuesday Night Live and all of those kinds of things, we're going to be starting to roll out some announcements for you with Chris Cooking Nashville, some things that are going to be happening, and there's going to be some extra content for you guys to enjoy, and there's going to be some really cool steps for the future of what we're doing. We will go ahead and start telling you some details next week, and we'll probably be announcing things for a number of weeks in a row.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different stuff, and we're going to tell you about it all a little at a time as we kind of finalize things.
We may have been on vacation, but we have not been slacking.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Well, that one day that I fell asleep on the lounger in the shade on the deck of the cruise ship, I might have been slacking that day. But
that's
yes.
all right.
Yes. No, we have a lot of really great stuff. I know a lot of people have been asking for a cookbook, and there's a future there.
Yeah.
Amongst many other things. So that's the only teaser I'm going to tell you. You gotta tune into the live streams and the health vlogs and all of that other stuff starting next week to get the full skinny on everything. But the announcements are coming, and we appreciate everybody. I appreciate the Patreon and YouTube band members. You guys just keep everything afloat, and a lot of these announcements are thanks to you. So we appreciate that very much. I think that's pretty much all we've got for you guys today. Yeah. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure to stick around so you can hear all of the cool stuff that's going to be Chris Cooking Nashville related coming soon, and Ash Taylor music related as well. So chriscookingnashville.com, ashtaylor.com. I will link those down below. Go follow her. Follow my stuff if you don't yet, if you're just discovering this. And we're going to have some fun. So thank you all for being here. This is Chris Cook in Nashville, my beautiful, lovely, wonderful wife, Ash Taylor over here. Guys, make sure to eat your meat, love your life, offer a helping hand and some encouragement to someone around you. And we're going to see you here at the dining room table and back over there in the kitchen for more recipes, more health vlogs, and announcements coming soon. Bye, guys.
Bye. She wants to be in the health vlog.
The dog doesn't need to be in the health vlog. The dog knows nothing about health. The dog is fat.
Can't argue that.